what is a conversation, Rob?
A conversation for me is when I'm talking to somebody and trying to engage in learning about them.
That's good. I think that's a great definition. So I think it's really hard, and tell me if I'm wrong, for people to have a conversation today, especially eyeball to eyeball. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. That is something that we need to talk about, Sheryl, because again, with the digital age that we're in nowadays, it's, conversation with other people is getting harder and harder.
That's right. So here we go in the next couple of minutes, the art of the conversation. Master this and you will master networking, I promise you. So welcome to Network Today, where we take you from meeting people to
making money
faster. We want to get you that ROI. And Rob, it's been forever.
I know. It is so good to be back here, Sheryl.
That's right. And we have some big news.
Oh, yes, we do.
So you may see that there's a new studio. We call it the Tiny Studio, but big things come in small packages, right?
Absolutely.
So this is exciting. Can't wait to see how this works. But hey, you got your Buc-ee's cup.
Yes.
I got my Mr. Smiley cup.
Yes.
So it feels like home. It does. It feels like home. And I think this is going to be neat. I think this is going to be supercharged.
Well, we've got some great topics coming up. And, we really do want to help our audience, our community, take their networking to the next level. And, I know, you've been sharing some of the topics that we're going to be doing in the next few months, and I am so excited.
Yes, I am too. So at the end of this, so stay tuned for the very end, because that's when we have a super big announcement. I can't wait. So in the meantime, let's talk about the conversation, because this is really the crux of networking. And as I and you have both been talking to educational facilities, higher educational facilities, what are you discovering when you're talking to students?
Well, there is kind of a wide gap here, because again, what I mentioned earlier was about how, high school kids, college kids are spending so much time on their cell phones scrolling through. But and so they get the young people do get criticized a lot for not conversations, but there still are young people out there that are wanting to learn. Yeah. And I think that's why this episode is going to be great.
They want to learn. I think they have been developed into this can't learn through anything other than technology world. So I feel like it's been trained in them, but that's not necessarily how we're built. We're not built for that. We're built for community. I know we talk about that a lot, but we are built for community, and it's just been really eye-opening for me to talk to these amazing students, and some in high school, right, and some in college.
Yeah, absolutely. I just finished, I just started a book called More Than Just Talk, and it's from Patty Nucci, who her first book was about the intentional networker. But this book is great, Sheryl, and I really want to recommend it to our audience, and I'm going to get you a copy too, because again, what I'm learning about conversation is the fact that to be successful in today's marketplace, you have got to be able to converse with other people, to separate yourself. And it's something as easy as just conversation, we forget about it.
Yeah, we do. In conversation, when I posed this to SMU, so I had the chance to speak to a group of SMU higher ed persons. They were part of a group that were going to vet me to then speak to another group at SMU. But they had some great insight when I asked about what is conversation. And really what it boiled down to was being interested in what somebody else has to say. So not just dialogue. We kind of started with dialogue, but really it boiled down to, at the end of that discussion about what is a conversation, it's about being interested in other people and what they had to say. So what we're going to help you do is learn how to have a conversation. We've got some great tools that we're actually using in training that you can tap into as well, that we're going to put online. So with that, I have to give a shout out to Shernay Wormley over at Texas A&M Commerce, the Dallas location. And she was the one who told me this is one of the first opportunities to speak to groups of students. And she had mentioned how they operate. She said, so they get into a group of people. They don't immediately get on their cell phones. They break off in groups of 2 or 3, disperse throughout the room, and then get on their cell phones. So I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. So what we created were conversation cards, and what you and I have here, and we're going to go through a little demo. Did you know that?
I didn't know that,
Okay,
Sheryl.
surprise.
You always like surprises.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna show you what it's like to get into a networking conversation or networking event, a networking situation, and have a conversation beyond what are the 4 letters, that acronym that I hate for people to start with.
See, what? So it'd be W, D, Y, D.
There we go. What do you do? If I ever hear you say that, I'm just gonna look at you funny, and I say I network, right? So it's really it's fascinating that people still default to that, but we're gonna show you things you can default to and great resources you can just have in your back pocket. All right?
That's great.
All right, cool. So here is a great, I'm just going to refer to this, themuse.com. Go there and you can tap into this great article about, it's called 30 Brilliant Networking Conversation Starters. Now, I'm going to say the first couple were not brilliant. I did not like them because they were the classics. So skip the classic section. Go down to, talked about location. And you said you like location.
I do. I think my favorite kind of opener is just the fact of, how did you get here? Who brought you? Have you been here before?
Yes. And I like, just as a default, when I'm kind of brain dead. So where did you come in from? Like what part of town? So that we could talk about the drive, maybe school systems. So do you know this person or do you go to this event or whatever? So it can be a great conversation starter. I do find that it runs out of gas kind of fast.
Okay.
So that's just how I feel about the location part. Things that are newsworthy, so you could talk about things that are maybe very topical, which you may or may not want to in this highly charged world that we're in right now.
Depending what day it is, right.
That's right. There's a section on introverts,
Okay.
and a lot of people fancy themselves introvert, extrovert.
Right.
Didn't you say that you are too?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an introvert. I have to work hard at, when I go to a networking meeting, I've got to kind of turn the on button.
There's a section too called the funny, and I think it's really great. And one of the things that they say, well, I'm really underdressed for this event. I mean, if you can pull it off, just don't be weird.
Right.
Whatever it is, it should be a natural conversation. But the goal here is to have open-ended dialogue, not closed-ended, because closed-ended is what? It ends with...
It just ends so they give you a yes or a no.
That's right.
And that's about it.
That's right.
And again, I think, people have to realize, conversation is a skill set. We take it for granted. It's one of the things we just take for granted, but it's a skill set because, again, your success at that networking event is going to be about the questions that you ask. And so we need to prepare ahead of time. And then, and that's what we want to accomplish, when we come out with our training programs and our workshops. We're going to dwell into that in a much deeper scale.
Yeah, I'll be working with the SMU MBA students since I passed the vetting of the last group, and really working on starting the conversation and then working a room, because they're just some basic tools, basic pillars that are part of the networking process that once you kind of get those down, get them in your back pocket, man, you can go to any event, whether you're under the weather, whether you're over the weather, whether you're underdressed, overdressed, whatever that is, whether you know anybody or not, and have conversations that lead to an ROI on your networking.
Oh, absolutely.
If you do this properly.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And again, it goes back to the fact that, prepare for those networking events, have those, study, write down those questions ahead of time, memorize them so that, again, you feel very comfortable in that setting.
That's right. You know where you could write them? Right here on the palm of your hand. Hey, person who I don't know, I'm going to ask you. What's your favorite sushi? All right. So I'm going to ask you to pull out your little piece of paper.
Okay.
The one we use in training, the one that's right there that says mentors.
Okay.
All right. So
I've got it.
Go to the Get to Know You Icebreaker Questions section.
Gotcha.
Pick a question and ask me as if we don't know each other and we're at an event.
Okay, cool.
So people can see how this works.
What are you most proud of in your life?
Oh, let's see. That's a really great question, Rob, who I've never met before. Wow. I would say I'm most proud of getting to this point in my life and having really rich relationships despite some bumpy roads and poor decision making. So that's I know that's a pretty high level answer.
Well, I could, and I like that because then I've got 2 or 3 segues off of that reply that you just told me. So
that's good. That's good. So I'm going to ask you an icebreaker question.
okay,
Okay. What is your most unusual skill, Rob?
my most unusual skill. Good question. I think what I say my most unusual one is like I kind of like to stand out in the crowd. So I wear buttons. I wear buttons on my shirt about I love networking or a smiley face. So I try to interact with people through my name tags and that type of thing. Sometimes I even carry around smiley face squeeze balls and that type. So I try to be different that way. So I say that's kind of unusual because I don't see other people do that a lot.
I was going to say, knowing now that I could say that I know him actually, curling.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Outside of now, okay.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. There is no wrong answer, right?
That's right.
There
I
is
was
no wrong
thinking.
answer.
Well, that's great because my mind there was set on kind of networking, and we're just talking about everyday life.
Yeah, but it's the spontaneity of not knowing what you're going to get. And if you're really listening, so back to what the students were the feedback they were giving me in regards to conversations being beyond dialogue and being interested in others. So you're actually listening to what they're saying. You're listening to their answer to the question, so then you can respond appropriately.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
So I think that's the conversation, right? So you just want to really do real life conversation questions. And one of mine, too, one of my go-tos when I'm at a networking event, especially if I'm just uncomfortable, if I'm just at a place where I'm like, I don't know, I'm just not in it today. So sometimes I'll just come out and say, oh my gosh, I was so unprepared for today, but what a delight to meet you. So tell me, what would bring you to a place like this tonight, since this is your first time, my first time, we're just getting to know each other. And so really just kind of that honest conversation to go, oh my gosh, I did not want to come either. Right? So, and I think I went to one, and I might have mentioned this last year when we finished our last episodes, because it's been 3 months since, I know, 3 months, it's been forever. But I went to a networking event, and I didn't know I didn't think I'd know anybody. And so I see a couple of gals milling around trying to get to the same location, and we go up together, and I said, you'll just be my elevator friends. Since we don't know anybody, let's just figure out who we need to meet, right? And so we just palled around, and it was super great, just being honest with each other.
Right.
Not trying to be anything that that we didn't want to be. The other thing, too, so while I say that, one of the things that was really great about that particular evening when I met those gals was that we didn't start off with a business card. That makes me crazy. It's right up there with the WDYD.
Yes.
What do you do? Here's my business card. What does that say to you when somebody hands you a business card?
Yeah,
right off.
They're trying to sell me something.
Yeah, get you out of the way. Hey, here's my card. Call me. Next.
Yeah. No, but what I like what you said with your elevator friends was you kind of exposed yourself, gave your sense of vulnerability, and when people see that, they can see the authenticity there. They see that you care and that you're just like them, so you put them in a very comfortable place.
I think that's the point of the conversation, isn't it? Is putting them into a comfortable place. So I'm super excited about this training that we're rolling out for the universities and for the high schools. So
Yes.
I know that you've tapped into some of that as well, because these young people, as well as old people like us, we have to get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm an offender.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm taking notes here with just some of the statements you've said, and I've got to learn again how to have these icebreakers. I think they're very, very important, and then have them again. I've scripted out, have them memorized, so that again you feel very comfortable. So I'm learning right now, Sheryl.
So
Love
as a
it.
recap, stay away from the closed-ended, right? The yes/no answer questions,
Right.
And get into the open-ended questions and start by what, when, where, why, how. But somebody at SMU said this, what and which, if you can start conversations with that, they said in one of their trainings they had learned that those are the best ones that really spur a good long dialogue potentially at the end of that.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me too, again, of, when you're doing this is to be positive.
Yeah.
Be proactive and be purposeful.
Yep. Proactive and purposeful.
Yeah, yeah.
Two good words. And look at people in the eye, for crying out loud. Not over the shoulder, not at your phone, eyeball to eyeball. So as we wrap this up, we have the big announcement, right?
Okay. I think you go for it. Go for it. Come on.
Yeah, right. This is so super exciting because you know that we've had 2 annual events.
Yes.
That are all things networking conferences. And so last year was Summerfest. We sold out at TK's. It was amazing. We had quite a day of all things networking training and bubbery and fun. And this year, I think we're going to crank it up a couple of notches.
We're going to hit it out of the ballpark.
That's right. So this time it's going to be on 8/2. And it's going to be at Very Space, Las Colinas.
Whoa!
I know. I'm so
God.
excited. We're supporting local.
Yeah.
Locally owned.
Yeah.
So Jason McCann and his entire team, and I know he's got other partners in there that I don't know their names, but I can say that, and Chris Nieto was a great conduit to that because meeting at that space with him, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So we're super excited. 8/2, save the date. We'll have more information coming to you on all our speakers, but it will be all things networking, and it will be all things you can't miss if you care anything about networking. All right, so Friday, 8/2, and are we ready to wrap?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, this has been fun. It's good to see you again. It's been good to see you again.
Well, it's been good to see you too, Sheryl. I'm glad to be back in the studio. I've missed it, and I've missed you.
That's right. Well, cheers to you, my Bucky friend.
Let's go.
All right.
All right.
So, Network Today, where we take you from meeting people to making money faster. So, and we will see you next week.